Good afternoon, everybody. Very, very fortunate to be uh, with everybody today. And this is Marketing for ECP's webinar, all about building a strategy for 2021, all in less than an hour. We are going to do our absolute best to keep to that. And I am very privileged to be joined with a colleague and a friend, Hirani. Shai, what's going on?
Oh, well, not much, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing really good.
Good.
Doing really good.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining. While I share the screen, which we're going to just pop into now, how's your day been today?
It's been pretty good. I don't know if you know, I have a new puppy now, so he wakes us up nice and bright and early. So had some nice time with him this morning, and now I'm doing this with you.
Amazing. Well, it's my daughter's 9th birthday today.
Oh,
yeah, it's a special day for me and my wife and my daughter. So it's an amazing day.
Oh, that's so nice. What did you get her?
You know what? My wife did a lot of the shopping. However, I helped contribute to, and actually, this is a great thing to share. Christmas is coming up. There's a app called Cameo, and my daughter's obsessed with the movie Descendants. And so what Cameo does is it connects you with celebrities, and you ask them to create a video. And so they did. One of the Descendants actresses created a video for my daughter, sent it to her, wishing her a happy birthday, and it went over very, very, very well. So yeah, it was a huge hit.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh, well, tell Abby we say happy birthday to her.
Absolutely. And for those that don't know who we are with Marketing for ECPs. The ECPs is you guys watching, the eye care professionals. We are a marketing agency for the independent practice. My name is Kevin. I am the president and co-founder, along with Trudy Sheree, with needs really no introduction if you've been in the eye care industry. And Shai, you are a marketing director working directly with clients, putting together strategies, which is why you're perfect for today's broadcast. So welcome, and we're going to talk about the agenda. I'm going to start with some strategy, overview. What is strategy? We're going to talk 3-year plans, 1-year plans. Our company just came off doing this all week last week, creating our 3-year vision and creating our 1-year plans. In that, I think you're going to dive into some objectives. How do we determine them? With that, we always need fuel to fuel our marketing. So we're going to talk budgets. Then at the end, we're going to talk about the whole annual plan, right? We want to make sure people can leave with the tools needed to execute a plan and make sure that they do it efficiently. That's what we're going to stop. We're going to do a little Q&A. So anyone that has questions, use the chat. We're not going to get to them during that. We are going to save it for the end. And then we are going to end with one final tip. So how's that sound? Sound good to you?
Sounds like a great plan. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So what is strategy? You know what? There's a lot of different ways to look at it. For me, it really comes down to this sentence. Strategy is the allocation of time and resources, two things we just never have enough of, towards the activities that generate a desired outcome. So strategy is the allocation of time and resources towards activities that generate a desired outcome. It's also, and this is big for me, it's knowing what you're saying no to. So as an entrepreneur, a business owner, sometimes everything sounds good. And so strategy is saying yes to certain activities that generate an outcome, but it's also the ability to say no to other things. And so, let's talk about why a marketing plan. Why is it important right now? We have a month left in the year. Why is it important to start creating a marketing plan for your business? And number one is this. You're dealing with our clients, with business owners, practice owners. Mm-hmm. There just isn't the time day to day to be worrying about marketing, right? It seems like the thing that always gets pushed to the end, but it's really important in the business. So, now more than ever, let's take some time, dedicate time like this to building out that strategy for next year. Reactionary planning is counterintuitive. Usually something happens in the business and then we have to react to it as opposed to planning to get ahead. And I really like this. It's the guiding light to evaluate the critical and crucial business decisions that keep the business going. It keeps the business on track. So when other opportunities come up, other HR issues or finance issues, they come up, at least you have a marketing plan that you can say, let's just stick to the plan, because the plan was rooted in discussion. It was rooted in strategy with outcomes and objectives and a budget, and it will help you really achieve what you're looking for. So that's why it's important to invest that time.
For sure.
When we talk about marketing plans, it really needs to be focused on the future. And I look at a few things. Number one is, what does your industry look like in 10 years? There is a lot of question right now in the eye care industry about what the future looks like. 10 years is a really long time out, but understanding what the industry looks like a decade from now sort of helps, I believe, people prepare today and what they need to do today to start building up to making sure that their business is as healthy and successful as ever, 10 years from now. Knowing that, we need to talk about, who are my customers, and patients, who are they today? Understanding what the makeup is of today of who those customers are, and then who do I want them to be in 10 years? So we know we can't just, flip a switch and have a whole different patient base if that's what you're doing. But are your patients today baby boomers? Are they even older than that? Is there going to be an age out in your business? Are you right now targeting young demographics, and what are they, who are they going to be in 10 years? So really understanding who are you serving today, and who do you want them to be in 10 years? And then always asking yourself, how are my customers' habits changing? What do they want from me, right? So 10 years ago, online, like buying glasses online wasn't really relevant. It's now very relevant. And, even with Amazon launching online pharmacies, what does that immediately say to how customers' habits are changing, and what are they going to want from me? And then obviously, how are they going to find you? So when they're looking for a business like yours, or looking for the products, services, and the brands that you carry, how are they going to find you? So those are really important to think about the future. It's as important to think about where you are today. And so, this is where we get a pen and paper out. We'll have a recording, go back to this, and ask yourself these questions and write these information down. It's really important when we do our strategy planning. This is the pre-work that we do to show up and be present in that meeting. And number one is, we need to know our financial figures. So what is our current revenue and our gross profit margin? So if I see a new patient, what are the contribution dollars that I'm adding? What's the free cash that I'm adding to the business to allow me to, fund and grow everything else?
And why would you, quick question, sorry, Kevin, why would you use gross profit margin as opposed to maybe like your net profit margin?
Yeah, great question. So when we think about just in your business, you have revenue, and then you have your variable expenses, and you use cost of goods, right? So if you have an eye exam come in, and let's say your fee is $120, what are your hard costs out to fulfill that eye exam? So the associate cost, equipment cost, materials, what's the cost that I'm out? And then, so let's just say it's 50% for easy math. I'm left with $60. My gross profit is $60 free cash to help run the business. Net incorporates all the other things that are irrelevant to how many patients you see on a day-to-day basis. That's your rent, that's your overhead staff, like administrative staff, that's the salaries you pay, things like that. So the more you grow, right, your gross profit remains the same, but your net profit is impacted. So it's important to know, if you're trying to go after $60 of gross contribution dollars, how much am I willing to pay from a marketing perspective to actually acquire that free cash? So it's important to understand gross profit margins for the different services that you offer, and just so we're adding contribution to the free cash flow. Along with that, we also need to know who our current demographics are, right? How old are they? Where do they live? You can use the softwares that you have to plot the addresses, postal codes, zip codes of your patient base, and actually see where do they live, and then ask yourself, what do they want? Why are they choosing us? Why are they coming back? And how are you currently reaching customers? What's your current marketing? Everybody's doing marketing. You may not be paying a lot for it, but you're doing marketing through signage, through word of mouth, through recall, through a lot of different areas. So really think about how you're reaching new patients and existing patients in both of those avenues, and understanding how you're doing that. And then how much it costs to reach them. So what are you currently spending today to acquire a new patient, and what are you currently spending to retain a patient? We know generally in practices, 10%, there's a natural churn between moving, people passing away, things like that. There's a natural 10%. So what is it costing to acquire and retain? I think those are the base questions I want you to really understand about your business, to know where you are today, so that we can talk really about the future. So we talk about marketing and sales. It's also important that these are two different things. They work hand in hand, but I would say marketing is indirect sales. The function of marketing is making people want your product or service before they talk to somebody. And sales is now removing the obstacles and having them actually buy from you. So sales to me is more human. Marketing is more process, system, messaging. It's getting people in the door. Sales is actually helping convert them. This is a really important point here, Shaila, and I want to highlight this, that a great system, a great marketing system alleviates the sole dependency that a practice will have on hiring and retaining great people. And what that does is really future-proof your business. I don't know how many businesses in this industry and outside where one of their biggest weaknesses or fears as a company is they're so reliant on that one key staff, right? And so building a system that isn't reliant on any one person allows your business to continually bring in new patients. And the more patients you see, the more revenue you make, which allows more cash flow, which allows you to just grow and sustain your business. But not being dependent on one person is really important. And just like I said, strong marketing, it generates leads, it generates revenue and profitability, which allows you to fund, staff raises. It allows you to either open new locations. It allows you to work less as an owner. So whatever your goals are as a business owner, whether it's freedom or profit or growth, marketing really does help. And it's the beginning and the fuel to accomplishing those goals. So let's move to like the 3 years from today. And when we did our strategy planning as a company, we wrote out today's date, but 3 years from now. And then we wanted to create a picture. And I wanted to write out and have everybody make sure there's alignment on what will our business be 3 years from today? So what will my revenue be 3 years from today? What will my trailing 12 revenue be? What will my profit be in 3 years? What is that gross profit percentage? It may be the same as today, but maybe you want to build the business out to enjoy a higher gross profit percentage. And my customers will be made up of what? So those are 4 questions that I want you to actually take the time out and write out. That is the guiding light. That's the beacon. And all of this leads into one of those, we call them entrepreneurial ambitions, which is I want my business to grow. I want my business to be more profitable, or I want my business to be running without me, to allow me freedom to enjoy lifestyle. And so whatever that goal is, it's important to actually articulate in your business what needs to happen in order for that ambition to be true.
So Kevin, you would define these then as KPIs, like you would write an actual or a number here that would become a goal.
That's right. So a lot of times we hear practices want to eclipse the $1 million a year mark. So maybe today's revenue is 750,000, but in 3 years it will be $1 million. So you're going to write out $1 million will be my revenue, and my profit will be, maybe it's 15%. It'll be 150,000. So you're going to write these things out, and then we're going to start thinking about our plan to actually achieve this. So you have to know where you want to go before you understand what the plan needs to be. So once the 3 years done, now we actually have to back it up and say, in order for the 3 year to be true, what has to happen 1 year? So we have the 3 year vision or picture. Now I need that 1 year target. And it's the exact same question. So what's my revenue now? So if I get up 750,000, I want to be at 850, right? I want to grow. I need steady progression of growth. What will my profit be? What will my gross profit percentage be? And what will my customers be made up of? Because today, when we put together a marketing plan, and we're going to talk about personas and things like that, it's important to know if I want my business to grow 15, 20, 25%, whatever that number is, what has to be done, what activities, what time, resources, need to be dedicated toward what activities to actually make these things true. And so this is so important. This is more important than the actual plan itself, is understanding the blueprint for the plan. So I think, like, I was really fortunate, Shai, to be able to jump on a ride along with you a couple of weeks ago. We spent the day together. We went and jumped on a few client calls. And I was really impressed with just like how you lay out the whole objective conversation. So I'm going to turn this over to you. And I would like you to sort of shed some light to our audience today about how you use the idea of objectives with your clients.
Yeah, sure. So generally, we like to look at our businesses with two key objectives. Those are generating leads. So, of course, that's growth, building revenue, literally getting revenue in the door and building that way. And then the other side of it would be building the brand. So, for customers of your tomorrow. So people that are not actually potentially looking for you today. So I like to think of it as capturing demand and creating a demand for those two. And this is really based on where you are as a business, right? Because every business is different. Every practice is at a different state within their life cycle. So you might be, a little bit newer within your first year, or you're very established. So these two objectives will always come into play in a different ratio, if you will.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So is there ever, I guess when you talk about life cycle, like what would be, give me an example of where based on where your life cycle is, it might change the objectives you have as a business.
Yeah, sure. I'll use some examples. So I have some practices I work with that are brand new. They opened this year during COVID. They are fresh, like fresh, just opened their doors, and that is like a startup, if you will. Whereas I do work with other clients that are very established and they've been around for 30 plus years. So that's what I mean in terms of, marketing will always play an important role, but what objectives do I have within my business based on where I'm at in that life cycle?
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. So as we get into the two different, we have lead gen and branding. Maybe give me a difference between what each objective is meant for.
Yeah, so lead generation, again, is that the capturing a demand. So this is for sort of mid to lower funnel of the business cycle when you're thinking of customers who are actually already, and we call them customers, we can call them patients as well. But essentially, we like to use the term customers because they have a choice, right? They're coming to you. There's a lot of other choice in the market, but there's a reason that they want to choose you. They're a customer. And so when they're already looking, maybe they're searching for you, they're in the market for a service or a product. And that is the capturing, the lead generation. You want to somehow, get in front of that audience and capture their interest. Versus the tomorrow, you're solving a future problem. So the customers that are not potentially looking right now, but you want to get in front of them so that they think of you when they do have the problem to solve.
Makes sense. So how do you know, like if I'm a practice owner, how would I know which bucket I'm sitting in? Like, what would be the trigger?
So I would think about it more as a capacity standpoint. How full are you? What is your capacity as a practice owner? Do you have a lot of exam lanes open? Are you booked out 1 week in advance, or are you booked out 6 months in advance, right? And so that's when we look at the more startup companies. Of course, they have a lot more capacity, whereas the more established will have they're booked quite out, and they can be more choosy in that way. So when, as a business owner, you're looking to see where you're at, what your capacity is, how much do you want to grow, do you need customers right now, or do you want to kind of start to pick and choose the type of customers that you want to see in your practice?
Makes sense. So if one of your clients was saying, I need customers today, like we're slow, that immediately, okay, we need to talk about lead generation efforts, right? So that's Google search, right? That's showing up on Google advertising. Maybe it's direct mail or email marketing. But if they say, no, I'm booked 2 or 3 months, and I just want to see the right type of patients, I wish I could have them spending more money, then you're sort of saying, okay, now we need to spend money on the messaging. We need to spend money on changing the type of people that you're actually are in your chairs, right?
Yeah, I actually had a client approach me this past month and she said to me, Shai, I'm so busy. I hate to have this problem. Like she literally said, I know this is a bad problem to have. I don't know if she's on this webinar right now, but she's like, I need to slow down. I need to like put a pause, which was amazing. And so I had that conversation with her about, let's talk about content development. Let's take that budget you were using towards lead generation. Let's reinvest into your practice. And so that's kind of how you can decide where you are in this between these two objectives.
Yeah, we noticed that in the summer when everybody was limited, got by governments to capacity, how many patients they could see in a day or in an hour. They were backed out, right? They hadn't seen anyone for a couple months. And so the conversations we were getting is, I can't see any more patients now anyway. Mm-hmm. We sort of shifted and said, okay, well, let's not spend we had to divert the plan, create a new plan basically on the fly. And it was, okay, let's take money away from Google advertising and giving it to Google. Let's invest in yourself. And let's build out either organic social media content or email content or, search engine optimization, having your website show up higher up. And it was just diverting the budget into different tactics based on where they were given the situation. So having a dynamic, a plan of attack, but having the ability to be dynamic given the circumstances, I think is really important, right? When we talk about customers, let's talk about personas, because the whole point about marketing is trying to find the right type of people, right? So what is your take on determining, like, why should we spend any time coming up with customer personas?
Yeah, this is a good one because, as a more established practice, or even, while you're seeing your patients, you have types of patients that are coming in. Some might be more specialized, more medical focused. But you really need to know and I think you mentioned this previously in your 3-year and 1-year projections, who are those customers you want to see? Who are you trying to market to? So you want to think about, do this with your staff, with your team. Have that conversation. Who is that ideal patient that comes in? Maybe it's that patient that everyone knows by name and they come in and it's family and they bring in their family. And so think about that, have that conversation, and then look at that particular patient and start to analyze who they are. What's their age group? Where in the city are they coming from? What do they drive? What coffee do they drink? Like really start to idealize and understand who this patient is. And that's really important because you want more of them.
Right. So you're targeting the messaging, the reach all towards that, right? So if we were to get our pen and paper out again, let's look at this activity. How would you walk your client through like a slide like this?
Yeah, this is a good one because you start to think, right? I mean, we all want to have patients and we want to have revenue coming in the door, but when you can be a little bit more choosy, or start to curate what your patients look like, think about that. Talk about this with your team. What makes them desirable? Why do you want more of this type of patient? Think about how they found you. If you have this patient in your practice, ask them how they found you, how do they make their decisions, and really start to paint a picture of who this ideal patient is. So we can get pretty specific with it.
Cool. So you have your own customer base, Shai. Many of them are on now watching you. For the record, who is your ideal? Which customer of yours, which client of yours is your absolute favorite?
Oh, no, Kevin. Nice try.
I tried.
They're all my favorite, especially the ones on this webinar.
There you go. That's politics 101. Very good for you. So let's talk about like an example. If I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, okay, what does this look like?
Yeah, so we actually just take an example here, and this is Joanne. She's stunning, as you can see.
Yeah,
we have
pretty.
We have an age range where she lives. She's a dental hygienist. She's married. She has 3 kids. She does yoga. She goes swimming on the weekends. Maybe not anymore with all these restrictions, but she's a foodie. She takes interests in hosting. So you're really starting to understand who she is, and then so in the marketing that you're doing, you want Joanne to see herself in your marketing and in your advertising. You really want to bring more of her in. And what we like to do within our strategy is we like to show our customers themselves in our imagery and in our marketing and the messaging, the content that we speak to them with.
Cool. So if we really break this down, okay, so we actually think about in our practice, who is that person? So let's say it is Joanne, and I would say write out Joanne on a piece of paper. You would actually know her age. You would have that information. So write down her age, what her occupation is, everything you know about her. And the reason being is that when we go into like Facebook targeting or demographic targeting, we go, let's target in Facebook people that like yoga, swimming, food, all these things. And then the message is about value, family together, active lifestyle. When we think about what does your website look like when somebody visits your website for the first time, it's a picture of Joanne with her 3 kids, baking together and having some sort of headline about having healthy eyes brings family together. It's sort of mirroring what that you can provide, the values that your ideal patient base is looking for, and marrying those two together. Mm-hmm. So that when Joanne lands on her website, she goes, that's the practice that speaks to me. And that's really why we do that. Yeah, identifies perfect. At the end of the day, it's about how are we going to spend this money that we have. Let's try to 75% as an example. You might have determined 75% of my efforts, my strategy, right, time and resources are going to go toward building my practice to try to get Joanne's in today. But I also want to have 25% remaining for tomorrow. So the percentages are interesting because it then leads us into the marketing budget.
Actually, I'll speak one more piece on that. The only time I've seen this shift is if it's like a very brand new startup. We might put a lot more into lead generation because we really want to capture every interest that's out there initially. And then as practices become more established, we might actually shift over to the right side there. So it will depend on that life cycle.
Right, totally makes sense. As we get into budgets, this is a question we get asked all the time, right? Like we probably don't even go a day without somebody saying, how much do I need to invest, right? That's always the question. So let's start with the word investment and believing in it. And the analogy I like to use is if you went to this magical machine on the side of the street and it said, insert $1, receive 10 back. You tried, it works. How many of you would just keep reinvesting money into that machine, right? And if any stock you invested in, and if anything you knew you could put $1 and get 10 back, how many people would do that? I think the answer is everybody. The problem is few people see a 10-to-1 return. Normally because it's a portfolio of everything you're doing. You're not sure what's actually working, what's not working, or the more common mistake too is they have no idea if it's working. I have no idea. I'm putting $1 in. I know I'm putting $1 in. I have no idea what's coming out, or at least how much is coming out that's related to the $1 that I put in, right? How successful, what would my revenue have been without putting $1 in? I think that's the biggest question. So believing that this is an investment and it fuels you forward is really important. I think to start, we need to classify what marketing is, right? So it is so an expense is something that you cannot run your business without, right? Like utilities is an expense. You will have some overhead salaries that are an expense. There are rent that is an expense. That as soon as you open your doors, you're paying money to operate your business. Marketing is not a must-have. A lot of people look at it as a nice to have. I look at it like it's the investment that you could be making in yourself and your business that will generate the biggest return of any other opportunity that you have. And because there is an expectation of return. And that's the difference. If you right now were to take money and invest it in the market, in the stock market, you invest it in real estate, you're doing so because you are expecting some sort of return. And so this is where I'm going to just take a second and speak directly to every business owner that is watching. Investing in your marketing is saying that you are believing in the return that your people, your process, and your systems can generate. So by taking money out of the business and investing into the real estate or stock market, you're saying the greater return that I could get is through somebody else. It's somebody else managing this money or the general market. I'm saying that a marketing investment is investing in you, it's investing in the people around you, and the products, services, and brands that you choose to carry. Because if you invest into your business and letting more people know about it, it will generate a greater return. And so that is just a fact that if you invest in your business and you have a great business, marketing should generate a return. It's important to also understand the expectation and share it with those that can help you realize it. So if you have someone dedicated to marketing, your salespeople, your staff, your spouse, your partner, whatever that is, make sure that there is a shared expectation with the people that can help you actually bring this to fruition. To know this, and if I was very fortunate, I was able to publish a book last year. In that, we use an analogy of marketing is sort of the sports car, but in order to get where you want to go, you have to give it gas. So we're going to talk about running empty, right? A robust marketing strategy is your business's sports car. It's going to be the vehicle that gets you where you want to go. It can take you far, but only if you give it gas, just like a vehicle. And so marketing should never be that first cut, because what you do, and we talked about the buying cycle, you have, patience for tomorrow and patience for today. By cutting your marketing, not only are you cutting off the leads for today, you're also cutting off the leads for tomorrow. And so it's really hard to recover if you don't have new patients booked in 2, 3, 4 weeks out. And the last one is that running on empty is never fun unless you are Kramer on Seinfeld. What an amazing episode.
That was a great episode. It's Kramer just like gunning it on the highway. I love it.
Yeah. And what I mean by this is you're going to leave, you're going to have this great plan. You're going to get everybody excited. You're going to talk about your 3-year vision, your 1-year target. You're going to have this great plan to get you there. And then things get tough and we cut the marketing budget. And everybody, all the plans, all the work that goes into it, it's so much more difficult to achieve your plans because we cut the gas, we empty the tank. And so now everybody that's involved in this, all the work you put in, it's not fun to run a marketing campaign without any budget, because now the expectations are, hey, this is going to be successful. The problem is we didn't give it enough fuel to reach enough people. So to do that, we need to determine that budget. So here's a way to do it. So we have kind of 2 different models. One is ask yourself, what's the maximum number of customers that you can service today? And it's a theoretical today. It means, in the next, let's call it 30 days. So how many openings do you have in your exam lanes? How many new patients can you see that in an ideal world, you could maximize today's schedule? And then a lot of people say, I want to bring an associate on. So if you're to do that, what's the maximum number of patients that they can see? And then say, how many do I want to see tomorrow? And that's a year out or 3 years out. If you, in the 3-year plan, if you had indicated that you wanted growth from today to 3 years, now think about how many patients do I need to see on a daily basis to actually get there? And in order to do that, we have to fill the gap. We need a plan to bring in more people. And so now it comes to, what is my target cost per acquisition? How much am I willing to pay to acquire that new patient? Multiply that by the capacity, and that's sort of your ideal marketing budget. That would be like, this is running very, very well. So an example is, maybe your target cost per acquisition is $50. I'm willing to spend $50 to acquire a new patient because I know that their average first visit is $350. When you look at gross margins, maybe you're making $150. And so you're left with, actually, when you put $50 in to acquire them, now it's $100 is your gross profit. And so you say, okay, I'm willing to do 50 and I have, 40 spots remaining. In order to fill those 40 spots, and I'm willing to spend $50 to get them, that's the budget I have for this campaign, as an example. So that's one way to do that. When you are looking at marketing budgets, I think it's important to take responsible risk. And I only say risk the first time you do this. So if you're a football fan and you know who Bruce Arians is, he has this amazing quote that I probably will put up somewhere. It's no risk it, no biscuit. Meaning, if you don't make that initial investment, how will you ever know it works? How can you generate anything back if you don't make that initial investment? However, I will argue that once the initial investment is made, then it's about optimizing. So now you know there's a return. Now you can see that patients are booking. Well, now the risk comes down substantially, and now it's okay, if we just invest 20% more, 30% more into this that I already know is working, how can I maximize this avenue of marketing for me? I think you have to be that qualified judge of your own capacity, because I will tell you, it is frustrating if you're investing in marketing, but then you're so full that you can't take new patients, which is why, your client called you and said,
Mhm.
hey, I need you to, we need to change our tactics
Yeah.
because we're turning patients away. I'm actually referring them to colleagues of mine, but I'm paying to market to them. So you don't want to be wasting marketing dollars. And I think in the beginning, you want to be comfortable, right? So invest money that you're okay to look at it as an investment, and then adjust. You don't want to be, the desperate investor is the one that's just never going to see the return. And so think about, in 2021, even the first 3 months, what am I willing to invest to see the return I'm going to get? And I think it's really important to let go of the vine when it's not working. So if you see that it's ineffective, if you see there's a better way to do things, that's when you got to cut it and stick with what works and let go of what does not.
As a practice owner, Kevin, how would I know what is ineffective?
Well, we absolutely, as business owners, have to build in feedback loops to know what is working and what isn't. The tough thing with marketing in today's world is that so much contributes to a new customer acquisition. We did our strategy. We did a training retreat that you'll remember back in September, and we opened up Google Analytics. And one of the big things that really, I think, struck with a lot of us is people that are investing in display advertising, digital display, like banner ads that show up. We saw so many direct phone calls. So
Mhm.
in Google Analytics, they have this like last click attribution, which basically means if I go to yourwebsite.com, pick the phone up, and I call you and I book an eye exam, Google Analytics will capture it as they already knew you because they went to yourwebsite.com. But when we actually broaden that out and look at the full attribution path, display advertising was almost like 90% of the number of calls that were booked they first became aware of you through an ad,
Yeah.
but they weren't ready to buy yet. And then they came in, they learned about you, they maybe bookmarked it, and then they came back, right? A month later, they booked an eye exam. And so when you actually broaden out, now you can see that this is working. So it's important to have Google Analytics set up, conversion tracking set up, really in-depth reporting, and understanding the reporting you're looking at. It might be overwhelming if you're doing it yourself. So this is where you want to bring in either a partner or invest in your own time to understand the reporting, because once you know what works, it's easy to start changing those levers to be able to optimize the performance. And the second budget calculation that, if you've ever heard me speak before, this is going to be routine for you by now. But we look at, what did you spend last year? And if we spent what we spent last year, we're going to maintain the revenue we're already at. And then I suggest 10% of incremental growth. So if you want to grow by $100,000 this year, you want to dedicate $10,000 of that incremental 100, add it to your marketing budget. So an example would be, maybe you're $1 million a year practice. You spent $25,000 last year, 2.5%. Seems reasonable. I want to grow by 20%, $1 million to 1.2 million, 200,000 of incremental growth. 10% of that's 20,000. We add it, and then you kind of go forward and say, okay, I spent 45,000 and I'm a $1.2 million practice. So you would sort of look at that. And then you take that budget, you go back to the objectives that you talked about, and work with your clients on Shai and say, okay, 75% I want to generate leads, 25% is the branding. We'll take the annual total, we'll break it out. And then of course we go all the way down to monthly. And now, as you know, for you being a marketing director, you look and say, okay, I have $2,800 a month of lead generation activity available. And I have, just under $1,000 a month to generate leads for tomorrow. It's building a brand and building brand awareness. And I think it really helps set those two paths up for success, because now we're putting in enough fuel into each path to be successful, right? And at the end of it, what's the whole goal? It's to actually grow the business to see more Joannes. And so when we look at kind of your rule, Shai, I'm curious, like maybe just briefly go through the difference. If I had $2,800 a month here and $950 a month on the brand side, what are some of these tactics I'm looking at?
Yeah, this is I mean, this is almost a whole webinar in itself, but essentially like the lead generation is, right away search, Google search, making sure you're showing up, capturing those searches. Social media has actually become lead generation, because social media, people will go and look at your social media presence. People like to know who their health practitioners are. Email marketing is great because you're nurturing your current database. Digital, again, like to your point, Kevin, you mentioned that a lot of our attribution comes from initially seeing a display ad and then converting later. And then direct mail, of course. And then on the other side, search engine optimization, that's continuous content development. Content is king. We all know that. Again, digital displays kind of on both ends. YouTube has become a really good brand play. Blogs, content creation, and then of course your organic social media, just to show your presence that way. And sorry, on the left side there, the social media advertising would be like those sponsored Facebook and Instagram ads. So a lot here to unpack.
Yeah, sometimes the platform can be used both ways. It's just what the message
Yeah.
is, right? So if we
Mhm.
look at digital display advertising as an example, a strategy while building leads today is like, hey, we have a 20% off sale. It ends on Saturday. You need to come in now in order to buy. And on the other side, you might be a whole wellness practice where you're really specializing in, dry eye and vision therapy, and maybe you have pharmaceuticals and things like that. And so now you're more advertising that you are that type of practice. So I may not be coming in to buy sunglasses today, but I am now learning about you, so that when it's time for me to buy the next, eye exam or dry eye pills, things like that, I now become aware of you and I'm choosing you. So even though digital advertising can be on both sides, it's what the message is that also helps dictate, how are we trying to actually market effectively in our practice, right?
I'll quickly plug. We have a previous webinar we did together where we dive in a little bit more into this and that messaging throughout the funnel of a client or patient experience. So definitely check that out on our website.
Yeah, marketingforecps.com, and you can go to the resources page, and then we have a whole webinar page. And at this point, I think we've got about 10 or 12 great webinars that do really dive into these different tactics, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, let's this is what we're here for. The people, as we said, they're leaving with a plan. So I'm going to turn it to you. This is really where you shine, helping people create an annual plan. What is the process that you are sort of teaching people today of how they can create this plan?
Right. I was going to call this the meat and potatoes of the presentation, but at this point, we're both vegetarians. So we'll call it like the chickpea and broccoli of the presentation.
I like it.
So essentially, what you want to do as a practice owner, involve your team in this, look at your annual calendar. All of us will have seasonal, it doesn't have to be promotion, but seasonal campaigns, messaging, education that we're getting out there throughout the year. So what we'll do is we'll look at, for example, January. We might have like a New Year promotion. We're already starting to work with our clients at 4ECPs on what some of this messaging will be in January. How do we want to start off 2021, right? It's going to be it's a new, fresh year. How do we get that messaging out there? And then as you go through the months, you might say, an example, February, you might have a little bit more of an educational piece. Again, it doesn't always have to be promotional based. Keep it relatable to when the promotion goes out. March, you might have a Save Your Vision month, donating some of that revenue to charity. April, you might have the Women's Eye Health and Safety Month. So having some sort of promotional around a women's complete pair. So what you'll see here is we're starting to just unpack the month. What messaging do we want to have across each month? And the reason, I'm going to anticipate your question, Kevin. The reason we want to do this is because we want to engage. Like I said, our customers are choosing us. They are choosing to come to you. They are choosing you as a practitioner. So engage them, keep them engaged. Don't let your marketing and your message go stale, because then it becomes noise. And that's kind of the point of doing this. So look in advance, build out your calendar, and build out all of this messaging, what you want to have across each month.
Yeah, because in marketing, frequency matters. You want to be in front of people often. Frequency equals trust. And, the more they trust you, you're trying to create an emotional connection, right? That's, as a business, the best you can do for marketing is create an emotional connection with your customer base. And so frequency breeds trust. Trust is a great emotion to have. They feel safe. And especially when you talk about medical, they want to go where they are safe. However, the same, like, high frequency with no change in messaging becomes annoying. And so now if I see the same ad over and over and over again, the same message, the trust shifts to annoyance. And now I don't really want to go there. They kind of bug me, and you start to block out that noise. So I think that's why it's important. And whether it's quarterly or monthly, we definitely say quarterly. You want to be changing and doing something. Go to the market with something new. Monthly would be a very high engaging practice with the resources to be able to do that. Quarterly, if you have a little bit less, but that would be somewhere between those two, right? You don't need to do multiple in a month, but you want to go either quarterly or monthly works. But then, so I have this promotion. So let's say I go through January through December, I've picked out my dates, I created my topic, I created whether there will be a promotion or not. It might be awareness, it might not be. Now, how do I get the word out?
Yeah, good. This is it. This is a good question. So, looking at the different platforms that you have. So again, think about where you're at now. How are you reaching your current patients right now? So looking at the different avenues that you have. Social media is a great way. Like I said, it does kind of fall on both the lead generation side at times, because patients will sometimes make a decision based on your social media engagement. They see that you're a caring practice. They might be aligning with your message. So pre-plan this. Decide that, and this becomes daunting because it's like, well, what do we post about? Well, once you have your marketing plan in place and you can really curate that message through social media, then you can decide, okay, I want one post a week. It's going to all be about this particular promotion, but we'll change the messaging throughout. YouTube is a really great way to get awareness, education out there. You might be a dry eye specialist, or practice dry eye management, so you want to educate. And YouTube's really cool because you can create videos and you can do them well in advance before the year, and then you can actually market them. So actually use them as YouTube ads. There's this thing called custom intent audiences. Super cool that you can actually target your YouTube videos based on how people search on Google. So it's really interesting, and we can talk more about.
So you mean, like, I have done a search for an eye exam, an eye doctor, optometrist near me.
Yeah.
Now I can target those people specifically on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I've done that. They're in my geographic parameter. Now I actually go to YouTube to watch, sports highlights, and now there's an opportunity to advertise
a
to them.
Pre-roll.
Wow.
Yeah. It's super cool. And you can do it in a way that because there's a data overlap between Google and YouTube. So really interesting. Custom intent audiences. And then again, digital advertising campaigns. So creating those that different, like you said, throughout the funnel. What is my messaging throughout my campaign? And then creating digital display ads to brand your business. And bring them in. This is a little bit hard to do. So, you can talk to your agency, you can talk to marketing specialists on how you can accomplish this. And then of course, keep all of your promotional pieces consistent. The last thing you want is to have this great branding digitally, and then you come into practice and there's, it's not consistent. So we want to create that consistency throughout.
Cool. I really like this. So should we create the exact same steps for every promotion? Like, should it just be, here's the recipe regardless of the promotion?
Oh, that's a good question. So yes and no, because sometimes you'll have larger campaigns. Like, for example, within a dry eye niche, we might have an ongoing dry eye campaign that we're running. We're doing it throughout all of our different channels. We're doing videos on it. We have, articles being written on our website. We're, creating social posts, that sort of thing. And then, something like a smaller like a punchy campaign would be something like your Black Friday sale. So you're doing something just punchy and relatable at the time, and you're not going to do maybe as much. You're not going to do like maybe a direct mail piece on your Black Friday, for example. Maybe it ends up getting there late or someone doesn't check their mail. So you just want to decide, that campaign, what are your quarterly main messages, and then throughout you would pick your medium for each type of campaign.
Love it. Okay. So now that I know I've built sort of my calendar, I know my dates, I know my promotion, I know what I'm going to do. I now know sort of my tactics.
Mhm.
And again, this is a team sport, right? This is all marketing is a team sport. So bring people in that are going to help you with that, whether it's internally or externally. And when we get to ensuring that this goes well, let's go through our 4 tips for people to really take home. So what's your first one?
Yeah, so assign a person to take accountability of this. That might be you. It might not be you as a business owner. It might be one of your key staff, your key team members. So really pick that person and keep them accountable, and really have them sort of take ownership of it.
Yeah, one person, right? Like at the end of the day, if you assign it to 2 people, nothing gets done. And so it really comes down to making sure one person in your practice is assigned and held accountable. And whether if you're working with an agency partner, you're definitely holding them accountable, but who in your business is going to be accountable to get to them what they need on time and to show up in those meetings, right?
This is
Uh,
sorry,
yeah,
Kevin. This is like the KPI piece. So just like you're writing an exact revenue goal, you really want to give that person knows exactly what they're responsible for. It just makes it a lot more doable and achievable.
absolutely. And then so 2 is dedicate a budget. So predetermine right now for the year, how much money are you going to allocate on a promotional basis? So if you have a monthly promotion, how much fuel are you going to give to that campaign? And overall in the year, how much fuel are you going to give to make sure that you get to that 1 year target that we spent at the beginning? We actually wrote down and said, this is what I want to achieve. So predetermine the budget and make sure that the person accountable to this has the necessary budget to be successful.
Yeah. And then the working ahead, this alleviates that reactivity. Really sit down. This is a great time to start planning for 2021. Look ahead. I know it's, this year it was so reactionary due to what's going on, but doesn't mean we don't need a roadmap to, have in place. So work ahead. That way, when you're working ahead and you have everything in place, you have all those channels, you have the different mediums, you have the collateral in place, you can just plug and play because you've strategically created this plan. Now it's just let's execute it. So this really will alleviate that stress and that, oh, I need to get this going kind of thing.
I know some practices that will work with their printing company locally. They give them all the files and they say on this date, make sure it's all mailed to me for the in practice, promotional stuff, the posters, the handouts. And then your internal team, they're either updating their website or updating their social media. If you're using an agency partner, make sure that they have it. But it's really important to work ahead. And finally, to me, alignment is so key. It's ensuring that all stakeholders, so that's you, the employees, they all have to be aligned as to what is the promotion and what is everybody's responsibility to making sure this is successful. If you're running a dry eye promotion campaign, make sure people know that that's what's happening. So when they come in and they ask questions, you're not caught flat-footed. So alignment is really key. Use your staff meetings to share the marketing calendar. This is what we're going to go to. This is what we're going to go to market with. This is what you need to know. Here's like 3 things that you can do to help us be successful. And then ultimately, the number one thing I think, and this is going to be the 5th one, is do not set and forget. Nothing is worse than just creating a plan, putting it in place, and then never checking in. And so what we're going to say is meet with your marketing team or your agency or that person after every promotion and check in on the results and ask them as a leader, how can you best remove the barriers that is really our job as leaders, to remove those barriers to ensure that the people we work with can be successful. So how do you support them? And I would highly recommend right now, set your marketing meetings, send the calendars, make sure that you and your team, whether it's external or internal, have those meetings booked, and then hold yourself accountable to showing up and being ready to contribute. So that's really important as a way to really effectively execute your marketing plan. We are going to jump on to what the free giveaways are here. So we have a few minutes left. We are going to get you out of here in 4 minutes. You don't want to leave just yet. We're almost there. Our marketing team saw we were doing this webinar, and they went to work and they created amazing resources for you. They created a spreadsheet that helps you track your entire marketing calendar, including budgets and objectives and outlines and all of that. And you can download that. We created the 2021 marketing playbook. We also created seasonal campaigns. So these 3 things can be yours free. You just go to marketingforeasypeas.com. All it takes is a name, an email address, and we unlock all that for you. And I talked earlier about this book that I was able to write and publish. Very fortunate. It was very temporary, but it was a bestseller on Amazon. Shai's entire Halloween costume this year was trolling this book. She wore a garbage bag and wrote "click" on it. I love it. We're happy to mail you a copy. So if you send me an email, my email's right there with your mailing address, we will have it out to you next week. So please take us up on that offer, download the resources, take the book. It really covers, this is all just one chapter in the whole book. So there's 12 chapters, this is one, and we go through the rest. We're gonna jump into the Q&A portion at this point. And I did see a friend of the program, Sean. So Sean from Zeiss said, contact your supplier partner to see how they want to plan and budget for the year. This helps on how you can help with your initiatives. Absolutely. Sean has co-op dollars. Every one of your partners has some way to support you, whether it is with marketing collateral, whether it is with a plan, whether it's with social media content. All of these things are there ready. They all have amazing marketing teams. We have the pleasure of working with them quite regularly in helping create that content. So reach out to your supplier partners, ask them, what material do you have? What support do you have for 2021? How can we make sure that we will be successful together? Shai, I'm gonna steal the Q&A period. I'm gonna ask you a question before we get to our last one final tip. We do have clients on this call. I wanna know, how can your clients show up for you? So if you are somebody that is working either with a internal marketing person or external, how can your people show up best for you to make sure that collectively you can ensure their success?
Yeah, that's a great question. So honestly, I think it goes back to your slide previously. It's that engagement, and some of the best client experiences I've had are with those that are engaged. They show up. They really invest not only their dollars into their business, but their time, right? And they care and they want to understand the numbers. They want to set that time aside to understand the data, and they really show up and they're engaged. And that is like my favorite part of working with our clients.
Cool, that's amazing. We are going to say what we did. We're going to get you out of here in less than 60 minutes with our one final tip. And that final tip is a saying that I love. It's advertising is the business tax for being unremarkable. The more remarkable you are, the more word of mouth helps spread the word of the good things you do. The more commoditized you become, the more you have to pay to convince people to learn about you and to come and visit you. So the tip is invest. 2021 is the year. Do things different. Invest in creating true differentiation between you and your direct competitors. Not everybody, just your direct competitors. Look at the choice that your customers, your patients have, and create that differentiation. It could be in products, it could be in service. Create that differentiation and then tell that story effectively. Learn to market and tell that story. Marketing, all it should do is shine a big spotlight on the great work that you do as a business and everybody involved. And the better the business, then the smaller the spotlight has to be, but absolutely marketing should just shine that spotlight. So that really is our one final tip. So I would like to take this moment, thank everybody for watching. Thank you, Shai, for spending a great lunch hour with me. Really appreciate it. If anybody is interested, we are going to email out to the attendees today. My partner, Trudy, is standing by to talk to anybody that feels motivated today to change their marketing, do something different, if you want to learn about marketing for ECP's programs and what we have to offer you, we have completely revamped as a company over the last 12 months. We have created programs at price points that make sense for the world that we're in. And the biggest difference that I will say that we have as a company are people like Shai. You get to work with marketing directors that have experience and they truly care about your business. And so contact us, learn about that, and we're happy to sit down and strategize for 2020, 2021 with you. Have a fantastic Wednesday, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
See ya.